In this video, I wanted to show you the basics of the brush tool. There are a lot of tools in the Photoshop Tools panel that use the brush tool aside from the brush, like the eraser tool, the smudge and blur tools, the dodge and burn tools, just to name a few. And one of the things that all of these tools have in common is a brush picker. Let's go up to the tool options bar and take a look at that. Now, if you don't see this, remember to go ahead and select the brush tool. Whenever you select a tool, the options for that tool open up in this tool options bar. If you click the disclosure triangle for this icon, you'll get the brush picker, which allows you to adjust the size of your brush and the hardness of your brush. This is how you adjust the size, by dragging the slider back and forth. So if I come over here with a hardness of 100% and an opacity of 100%, which you can also adjust here, notice the character of the line that I just made. It's very hard edged. Let me go into 100% by hitting Command or Control 1. I'll hold the space bar just to move it down a little bit. So with each stroke, it's very hard and crisp, right? Now, if I come back to the brush picker and I pull my hardness all the way down to 0, notice the character of the line. See how soft the edges are? This is really helpful when you're painting on masks and you need a soft, fuzzy edge instead of a crisp edge. Now you can also vary the size of your brush just by dragging the size up and coming over. So there's a big soft brush, and pull this back to 100%. Here's a big hard brush. You see the difference. So those characters are really important to know how they work. Now let's undo all this. Since I haven't saved this image since I opened it, I can just go up to File and back to Revert. It will revert the image back to the originally saved version. So there's actually a more efficient way to adjust the size of your brush instead of coming up to this brush picker every time, because you have to click out of it to make it disappear. If you just hit the left bracket key, which is beside the letter P on your keyboard, 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap, 4 tap, you see how it's making my brush smaller? And then if I hit the right bracket key, which is just to the right of the left bracket key, it makes my brush bigger. So I can very quickly adjust the size of my brush in increments by using the left and right bracket keys. Let's remove those by just going back to File and Revert. So in addition to choosing the size and hardness of your brush, probably the two other most common things you'll use with your brush tools are the opacity, which is here. So again, this is at 100% opacity, right? And actually, let's go ahead and change the color of the brush. There are a lot of ways you can change the color of your brush. Typically, the color is stored in the foreground background swatches right here, with the very top one being the foreground swatch and the back one being the background swatch. But if I come over to my tabs and toggle on color, I can pick a color for my brush from here just by picking that red, and you see how it changed the foreground color to red here and all the way over here. Another thing I can do is toggle on the swatches if I have a pre-selected swatch that I like or that I've made or created. And you see as I've selected it here, it loads it and saves it into my foreground over here. If you don't see your color or swatches, you can always go up to Window and just put a check mark beside them, and it'll bring them to the front for you. Now, with the color selected, see now I can paint with a color. Now, what if I wanted to change the color of this flower? Manually, really carefully try to paint. Well, look what's happening. One, I'm not doing a really good job with my edges, and it's just coming out as a very flat color of paint. I don't see the texture of the flower itself. This is where you can lower the opacity to maybe help with that. So I'll drag right up here. Okay, here's a quick tip about scrubby sliders, and they work on anything that has a variable number that you can change by dragging a slider. Scrubby sliders are much quicker. I can just hover over the word and drag left or right to lower or raise the percentage of the opacity. I'm going to go down to around 50%. Okay, that works much better, right? I can see below and I can see my flower, but it's more of a tint now, though. It still doesn't quite look right. I'm going to drag that back to 100%. Now let me show you the blend modes. These blend modes are the same ones that you can find over here in the layer blend modes, but these are only visible if you have more than one layer. In later videos, I'm going to cover all the differences and nuances of these categories of blend modes that are great for photographers and designers. But for now, for this exercise, I'm just going to choose the color blend mode. I'm at 100% opacity, and I'm just going to come over and start painting. And do you see how this is basically letting me change the color of the flower without changing the luminance values? See on this one where I painted with a lower opacity, see how it made the highlights darker? But see how I'm retaining all of my highlight and shadow information in proper relationship. So this really gives me the benefit of being able to do a nice job. But again, look how hard it is to paint these edges, especially here. These are kind of blurry edges, and these are sharp edges. Let me show you how you would fix this. Again, I haven't saved this image since I've opened it. So I'm just going to go up to File and Revert. I'm going to hold the space bar, raise this up a little bit, and I'm going to jump ahead and show you something with this quick selection tool. If you don't see it right away, just hold down the disclosure triangle and choose Quick Selection Tool. I'm going to tap my right bracket key to make my brush of the selection tool bigger. And then I'm just going to paint over the flower. And see how it did a really good job of selecting the flower? The selection is indicated by the marching ants. And I'm going to give you some really detailed videos on all the selection tools, but we're going to cover them in this video series too. So now that I have a quick selection of this flower, I'm going to go back to my brush tool, which I can hit B for brush, or just click it here. I'm going to leave blue in my foreground. I'm going to come over to my swatches panel and choose yellow. See, yellow is loaded in my foreground. I'm going to leave the blend mode set to color at 100% opacity. I'm just going to hold the right bracket key down to get a really giant brush really fast. Now watch this. I can just paint over the flower without being careful because this selection is restricting the color to be just in that selection. If I want to change that to a light cyan, if I want to change that to a green, if I want to change that to a red, if I want to change that to a pink, I think I like the red the best. Do you see how that works and how easily you can change the color of a specific object in a photograph? And then you can go up to select and deselect to get rid of those marching ants, or you can just hit Command or Control D. There you go. That's a quick way to change the color of an object in Photoshop. So this is a follow along practice video. I've included the link in the description below for you to download for free the image or images that I'm using.
Yes! That's awesome!
So go do that now. In this video, I wanted to cover the foreground and background colors and show you how you can change those colors. They're located at the bottom of the tools panel, right down here. The front square, mine's currently black, is the foreground color. The one underneath is the background color. Now, the background color does not come into play very often. For instance, it is used in the gradient tool, which is right here. So if I were to choose the gradient tool, do you see in the options bar, it's saying that it will give me a gradient from black to white. So if I click inside my image and draw a line, it will change everything from black to white in a nice gradation. We'll get into this in later videos for sure, because it's really interesting. I'm going to hit Command or Control Z to get out of that. So the reason the foreground and background colors are significant is because the brush tool, the shape tools, the type tool, and many other features that apply color use the color in the foreground color box at the bottom of the tools panel. And there are multiple ways to set that foreground color. You can select the eyedropper tool and sample a color from the image. You can use the color picker, the color panel, or the swatches panel, which I'll cover in the next video. So what I would like to show you is the simplest way to select a color for your foreground color. Choose the eyedropper tool right here and hover over your image and click on the color you would like to sample. Like let's say I'd like to sample this light pink. Do you see how that loaded automatically into my foreground? And now I can swap the foreground and background colors by hitting this arrow right here, or I can tap the X key and that will also switch my foreground and background colors back and forth, which is really handy if I'm using it for painting on the image itself or on a layer mask. So now, while I still have the eyedropper selected, I'm going to select a dark pink from my flower. And do you see how that loaded in the foreground now? And again, hit the X key or this double arrow to switch my foreground and background colors. This would allow me to hit B for the brush, and I will change my blend mode back to normal. Whenever you choose a tool, just take a quick look at the options bar and make sure your blend mode's at normal and your opacity is at 100%. Those are the two things that will make a tool not behave the way you think it should, because Photoshop has sticky settings. It's going to remember the last setting you used, even if it was 3 days ago, and then you may not remember that you changed this. So always take a quick look at that. If you're unsure of what these settings are, if you just go up to the tool that shows at the front, I've chosen the brush tool, so that's the tool that it's displaying. If you right click on that, you can just reset the tool, and it'll reset all of these to the default values. I'm going to hit my right bracket key to make my brush bigger, and I'm painting with some soft pink, and you see how that works. Then I can hit the letter X, and quickly switch over to start painting with the darker color. Now, if I want to go back to my default colors, I can either hit the D key for default color, or I can hit this little mini black and white foreground icon, and it will reset my color swatches to the default, which is black and white. And again, I can hit the X key to rotate them. And this is really handy, especially when you're painting on a mask, because mask only accepts black, white, and all shades of gray. So this is just a quick introduction to the foreground background color swatches and how you can introduce color into them.
Yes!
In this video, I wanted to show you the 3 main ways to change your foreground color outside of the eyedropper tool. Because remember, the brush tool, the shape tools, the type tool, and many other features that apply color, they use the color in the foreground color box, which is right down here at the bottom of the tools panel. So this is a follow along practice video. I've included the link in the description below for you to download for free the image or images that I'm using.
Yes!
And there are multiple ways to set the foreground color. For instance, you already know you can select the eyedropper tool right here and then hover over your image and choose the specific color that you want. For instance, I'll choose this light pink, and that loaded into my foreground. Now behind the foreground is the background color box, and this is where you can store another color. To switch the foreground and background color boxes to quickly access either color, all you have to do is click this double pointed arrow just above the 2 color boxes, and it will switch from foreground to background. Keyboard shortcut is just to hit the X key, which is also my favorite keyboard shortcut, especially when I'm painting on layer masks. Now, I want to show you how to have a more full-featured way to choose your color. If you just click once on the foreground color swatch, it's going to load the color picker. If it's in your way, just click on the title bar and you can move it to wherever you want. Now notice that my cursor automatically changed and was pre-selected to be the eyedropper tool, because that's the default tool that comes with this color picker. So by default, you have this vertical bar that has all the hues. So here you would drag that vertical bar to choose the hue that you wanted, or the color. Hue and color are the same thing. And you see how the box to the left shifts to align with these pointers? So this is the pink that I want. Now I can choose inside this large color box to choose other properties, because remember, the hue is only one property. There's also saturation and brightness of a color. So if I want a fully saturated bright color, I need to come all the way up to the upper right. This is the purest color that I can get right here. When I make a choice, it loads it in this new box, and below it shows me what the last color I had was. Now if I want a desaturated pink, I'm going to come to the left. I stay at the top if I want it to be a bright desaturated color. I come down to the left if I want it to be a dark desaturated color. If I want it to be a very saturated dark color, I need to come back to the right. Do you see how that works? So this is the purest form of color. This is the brightest all the way up to pure white. These 2 bottom corners go all the way to pure black. So the thing to remember is the left to right controls the saturation of the color. See how it gets more and more desaturated all the way to gray as I go to the far left in that new box? Another option is to enter the exact color values into the HSB, the RGB, the CMYK, or the hexadecimal color fields. It just depends on what you want. So you know color theory, right? Like the world is only made up of red, green, and blue light as it comes from any light source. And Photoshop measures that from 0 to 255. 0 is pure black, 255 is pure white. Now remember, to have pure white, you have to have 255 in the red, green, and blue color channels. See how it auto-selected pure white and it gave me a new block of white because I have 255 in all of these? Now if I wanted pure red, I just need to go in and manually enter 0 into my green and blue. 255 in just one channel is the purest color of that channel. You can see it chose the purest area of that box, giving me pure red. Now notice my foreground hasn't changed because it's not going to change until I click OK. And then as a last thing, from inside the color picker, if I pull my cursor outside of that color picker, I can actually choose a color from anywhere in my image still. And it automatically chose that specific color, that specific saturation, that specific brightness. And I just click OK, and then it loads into my foreground color swatch. What if you want to use the color panel or the swatches panel? Well, just come over here. And if you don't see them, go to Window and just put a check mark beside color or by swatches. You see swatches is automatically checked because that's the one I have selected. So this stores all kinds of default color chips that you can select from. So if I choose this yellow, notice some things that happened. It auto-loaded in my foreground color swatch right over here. And it also put yellow up here, which is basically Photoshop keeps track of all the recent colors you've used to make it easy on you. So in case you're going in and out of a lot of different folders. So if I choose green, notice it shifted the green back to the very front of the line and it changed my foreground to green. So that's a nice way to pick a color if you've been saving them or creating them. Let's go over to the color panel. You notice it's very much like the color picker, but there's a difference. Do you see the difference? Like as I choose my color on the vertical scale, I have a replica of the foreground background, which is a live replica of my foreground background. So notice my foreground is changing as I drag this. If I drag this to red, it automatically changed to red. I didn't have to click OK anywhere. So this is like a quicker live way to change your colors super quick. The color panel acts like a mini color picker in which you can choose the color hue from the slider and then adjust the brightness and saturation in the color box. Then the color you choose appears instantly in the foreground color box over in the tools panel. The color panel doesn't offer as many options as the color picker, but the advantage of this panel is that you can leave it open on your screen for quick access. And remember, in the swatches, to pick a color from a preset color swatch in the swatches panel, if you don't see the swatches panel on your screen, just go up to the menu bar, go to Window, and choose Swatches. And then click on the swatch or the colored square in the swatches panel to change the foreground color to that selected color. I hope that's given you a brief overview of all the ways that you can change the color of your foreground color swatch in the tools panel. If you like this video, make sure you whack it, smack it, and crack-a-lack it.
Yes!
Hey, what are you still doing here? It's over. Actually, all kidding aside, I hope this video helped. And if it did, consider subscribing. I like subscribers.
That's awesome! What? You just took one in the jugular, man! Whoa! Yes! God, I did. This is
Hey, you stayed to the end. You know what that means? You're awesome. I'm talking about you. Now get out of here.